Hello everybody. Today I want to talk about the state of Companion Druid. So I went ahead here and I just threw some topics up here just so I could try to somewhat stay on track. So the first thing I'm going to talk about when it comes to the state of Companion Druid going into Season 4 after the final patch notes have been revealed. So we're still not live. So there is some theory to this, but I'll go over, the things that are still kind of up in the air. So first off, tempering / masterworking. Big win from the Loot Reborn, from just all the stat changes. From the new crafting system. It's going to make Companion Druid a lot stronger, which is going to be super sweet, especially since you can do this masterworking thing, so you can get +4 ranks to Call of the Wild, which is super duper awesome. Okay, so now that being said, if you don't know how masterworking works, just to show you, you go down to 0. What it does is for every masterworking rank, it increases everything by 5%. Unfortunately, it interacts pretty poorly with plus ranks to skills, because you need it to be higher in order for it to go up faster, because you have to hit certain thresholds. So for example, you would have to hit the 50%, pretty much be at max masterworking just for this to go from 2 to 3, right? And then so you'll see this, so it goes up. Oh, it doesn't even go to 3, so that's dumb, right? But then you do this and then it goes to 3, and then you don't, until you get the third one, you don't actually get the fourth one. But you go to something like Storm's Companion, and you'll see that it does not take as much. Oh, what's the heck? There we go. See, so by rank 10, you have +7 to wolves, right? Yeah, so you have +6 by rank 5, right? So that's pretty good, right? So the more ranks you start off with, the easier it is for these to go up. And I don't know if necessarily it made it interact differently with unique items, but yeah, so that's pretty big win there. We're just going to have more stats overall. Okay, so the next thing is going to be temperings. If you know how temperings works, pretty much there's a new crafting system. They reduce the amount of affixes that drop on a legendary item, and you get to add in 2 of the ones that you want from these things called manuals, or I guess companion or tempering manuals or something like that, or tempering books, whatever you want to call them. There's little books you find. They have tempering recipes in them. And you'll take it to the blacksmith, and then you can get a chance of getting whichever book you have. So for example, if you have Companion Innovation, what the heck, come on. You see here, it's this is the options of what could roll, and it's random, and you can only temper a few times. So you will brick some items, unfortunately, and not get what you want, but that's okay, because items, just generally speaking, are a lot better with drops. On top of that, you can also roll and get greater affixes. So for example, this 145% crit damage could be 210% crit damage, right? Just from getting a greater affix roll. So that's pretty cool. Alright, you can get wolves damage, you can get companion damage, poison creeper damage, ravens damage. You can get wolf's attack speed, raven's attack speed, which reduces the attack, or I guess increases how quickly the raven's passive attacks, poison creeper duration, and raven size, which increases the circle. So that's all pretty good. So pretty big win overall with temperings. It's going to make any companion build you do a lot stronger. Okay, so not only that, you can roll attack speed on more things. So you can roll attack speed on your rings. So because companions can inherit 100% of your attributes now, I'm thinking that attack speed rolls should technically go to your companions. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but I will say this. It seemed like companions did absolutely way more damage on the PTR. I had a min rolled aspect of the alpha, and I was just clapping things with the wolves, so they were just doing a ton more damage. Okay, so that's really all I have to say about tempering and masterworking. I can make another video going in depth on the tempering and masterworking. But next up, we have cooldown cap. So the cooldown cap, unfortunately, so I released some builds that was utilizing this, so you can get cooldown reduction as well. It was utilizing these cooldown reductions to try to get your wolves, for example, to I think it ended a 1 second cooldown or something like that, so you could just be spamming them without using pack leader. Unfortunately, that's no longer going to be a thing. The best you're going to be able to do is get wolves down to 4 seconds. I think ravens you could get down to 6 seconds. Poison creeper will go down to 8 seconds or something like that. max, which kind of sucks. So I mean, it kind of makes these not really that useful, but whatever, you know. Just keep positive mind. But yeah, I don't particularly think these are going to be that useful. So that kind of makes one of our tempering things not as useful. But I do think the wolf one will come in pretty strong and still be pretty decent, depending on if you're playing like a wolf pack build or something like that, because then you don't necessarily need to run pack leader, and you can get some, and you can just have this on like a 4 or 5 second CD. So, but the other ones, they're just kind of low. So I don't know. Okay, so the next thing, physical damage calculation against damage reduction now caps at level 100. So this is pretty cool. Because now you don't necessarily need to take a Juggernaut's aspect. You only need 9,300 armor to be armor capped now. So you really, I don't even know, like, you could run the Juggernaut's aspect, and you know, that'd be cool, but like, you really don't need all this. Like, you should be able to hit the cap just off of your armor and gear. Like, you shouldn't really think a whole lot about the cap anymore. I mean, you might need like 1 armor roll or something like that to hit it, but yeah, you really don't necessarily have to run Juggernauts anymore, which is kind of a bonus, because you know, now you're not going to have your evade cooldown just totally gutted. So that is pretty cool. Let's see, cooldown armor updates. So companions are getting 100% of your attributes. Okay, so I will say this about that when it comes to 100% of your attributes is I don't know exactly what all that's going to entail. I'm going to have to test it. I've seen people say that, oh, you know, they were only getting 30% of your crit and 30% of your crit damage. Now they're getting 100%. I can definitely tell you, being on the PTR, they do way more damage, like way more damage. It's kind of crazy, like especially the wolves. The wolves do so much damage now. But that being said, we'll have to see what they do inherit and what they don't, because if they do inherit our attack speed, that means we'll be able to get to the attack speed cap on them very quickly, and we'll also be able to get to the attack speed cap for claw and stuff like that, and for your pack leader resets very quickly as well. Because, you know, 43%, see, 60, 80, and then you get the last 20 just from, you know, claw's attack speed being increased by 100%. So like, you'll have quite a lot of attack speed pretty easily. We'll see how that's going to actually affect the companions. It's not that big of a deal, because with temperings you can get wolf's attack speed to get them to that cap there pretty fast and pretty easily. But yeah, we shall see. Okay, so next thing, skill tag updates. So this is another thing that's kind of up in the air, but they said skill tags have been updated everywhere to allow more aspects and other effects to affect more skills and abilities. These are just examples, right? So these are just examples of what they've done. This does not account for everything, right? So to give you an idea of like why this could be a big deal, is if Storm's Companion finally actually tags Wolves' Storm skill, you now have access to a 100 or a 200% damage multiplier, right? So if you go here, and keep in mind they are also updating the temperings, so this number will go down, but it's still, it doesn't matter how much it goes down. It really doesn't. Like, this is always going to be like crazy. So you'd roll damage to close, and then let's say and then you're going to want to triple affix. Okay, so you have 187% damage to close. And then we go here to the Paragon. Okay, so show you, click here. Okay, so you have Thunderstruck. Storm skills deal 20% of your damage versus close and damage versus distant bonuses. This is pretty big, because that means that you're getting a 40% multiplicative damage bonus now off of just stacking damage to close enemies, while also still benefiting from additive damage. So in previous seasons, we did not really have a crazy amount of additive damage that could really be applied to your companion skills. We now have tons of it going into season 4. Not only that, with 100% of attributes happening, if we do end up inheriting 100% of our critical strike damage and stuff like that to companions, that'll be even more nuts, especially for the wolves, right? So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. But that's just what I want to talk about. Skill tags is that, guys, one little skill tag change can change a whole entire build. So it's really important to see how that goes out. And if anybody's found Storm's Companion, confirm if it does tag them as a Storm skill now. That'd be cool, but you know, it was only 7 days, so a lot of people probably did not find it. But if it does, my gosh, oh, Storm Wolves is going to be crazy, because then you could do something like this too. So, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, right? You could run Great Staff of the Crone, and it wouldn't even be a damage loss, because guess what? Do this, you do this, you go 12, and now it's like, I mean, I guess this is pretty low. I would imagine they're going to update these numbers. Like these should get updated. They might not have like found this unique item, but this 100% should get updated. But then you're going to get, you know, like 100 and some odd percent probably damage to close enemies, which means you're getting another multiplicative damage bonus. Even with this is still like, let's see, 20% of 80%. So it's at like 15% or something like that. So you're still getting a 15% multiplicative damage buff, which is going to outdo like any additive damage you get from your weapon. Or I'd have to do the math, but it should, because they should buff a lot of these to make up for the or to account for the changes, right? Okay, so that's what I have to say about skill tags. So when it comes to uniques, I just want to show you that I don't think Tybalt's is going to be crazy good anymore. Before it was good because it gave you a 40% damage increase to everything. Now it's only 20%. And then when you also throw in things like, oh, you know, you can masterwork the wolves ranks and stuff like this to get like +10 to wolves, and then, you know, you can get like +8 to wolves here. You can have like +18 to your wolves. It's just kind of like what do I have here? So it says I have 16 here. That would go up to 20 if I masterworked it. It'd easily be at like 22, 23 or something like that. So it's like, it's just not as good anymore. I honestly feel like running Storm's Companion in like almost any companion build that you're running wolves is probably going to be better, unless you're doing like, you know, just like we're using the companions to buff a core skill. Then obviously Storm's Companion isn't gonna be that good, but Tybalt's would probably still be better. But I really, like, I'm okay giving up 20% damage on like my Poison Creeper and my Ravens to gain just a astronomical amount of damage on my wolves, right? Yeah, so that's kind of my thought process. On there. So I think Storm's Companion is gonna be pretty good. Another set of boots, I think it might not be like good in the end game, but I think it'll be good. Just maybe before you get to the end game, is this Yin's Blessing. So one, it has damage reduction from close, which is cool. Two, casting a skill has a 20-30% chance to cast a non-mobility, non-ultimate skill. So before you have your temperings and stuff like that, if you were to find one of these, you could use this. They actually buffed it, so that's now a 40 to 60%. And then it also occurs every 8 seconds instead of 12. So like while your companions are off cooldown, you have a potential of casting another companion skill, right, as you're just kind of spamming claw. So I think that's one's pretty interesting. Aside from that, you know, Great Staff of the Crone obviously would be good, but really this is only going to be super good if like Storm's Companion was to like tag them as a storm skill now, because now you're actually losing tempering, so you're losing like 800%. Like if you're making a Ravens build, you lose 800% Ravens damage, right? So that's just not really something you want to do, unfortunately, right? So yeah. So yeah. Uniques are generally speaking not gonna be that great unless it's niche. I will say another one that would be good though is this one's a Falls, because the damage in it got buffed and now scales with your weapon damage this season. So this one will be good for like Poison Creeper and Poison builds and stuff like that, because they did change aspect to Changeling's Det, so you don't have a way to detonate your poison damage if you're running Poison Creeper anymore. Like as like a bomb, you know, kind of like what Blurred Beast used to do. So this actually is pretty good, and then, you know, Elemental Surge rolling on your weapon is also pretty good. But again, you can't get Elemental Surge if you roll in like a unique staff, which also kind of sucks, because Elemental Surge is pretty good on the PTR. Obviously they're going to nerf it, but okay, so now I think I went over like the general stuff. That's just kind of the interesting unique stuff I saw. So now balance changes, right? So let's just come down here. So pack leader reset chance increased by 5%. This is pretty big. They also increased claw attack speed by 5%. So that is also pretty big, because this means it's going to be even easier for you to hit the attack speed cap, since we can now roll attack speed on like our rings and our weapon. Plus we get claw here. It's going to be real easy to hit the attack speed cap without running rapid aspect or anything like that, which is a pretty big buff. We'll have much more attack speed to our claw than what we did last season, so we should be seeing even faster resets now. Okay, the next one. Debilitating Roar is now categorized as a shout skill. That can be kind of cool. Okay, so Wolves. So Wolves now gain Unstoppable when the skill is cast. Their health has been increased by 200%, and the respawn has been reduced from 10 seconds to 5 seconds. This is a huge buff, not only because of the health, but simply just because like having them pop up 5 seconds faster is massive, right? Because that was one of the big things when they did die. Is like I didn't really care all that much if they died, but like it felt like they came back kind of slow. Like that's actually what I cared about more than them dying. Like who cares if they die? Like if they can come back at a reasonable time frame. But the thing is like with a Necro minion, oh, you make a corpse, oh, you summon another one instantly. Okay, cool. But with Wolves, it's like, oh, I have to just wait 10 seconds. It just felt bad. So that's a pretty big buff. And when you think about all this other stuff that they're doing with companions, it's just a lot of damage. Okay. So Wolves also gain Unstoppable. So what this means is even without Storm's Companion, your Wolves are never going to get stuck in the air anymore, right? They cannot be stopped whenever you activate that, which is awesome. No more getting frozen midair. Like just, oh, it's so good. So good, so good, so good. Okay. Moving right along here to Lacerate. So the damage is increased by 22%. Now, they made a change here. So before, they made it to where you deal 4% increased damage for your shape-shifting skills, right? Now, it's you deal 4% increased damage for 10 seconds up to 40%. So you can actually run Lacerate in a companion build, and you can get a 40% damage amp with this. So that's pretty darn cool, I think, because not only that, this has a really low cooldown, and if you get up to the Lacerate cooldown of like 75%, I think you'll have a downtime of this buff of about what would that be? It'd be like you'd have like a 1.5 seconds downtime on that buff if you had perfect CDR rolls. So that's kind of interesting, right? But that's something I'm definitely going to consider using. Now that being said, Petrify is still really good because it also has a low CD, and killing an enemy affected by Petrify reduces its cooldown now. So don't get me wrong, Petrify is still going to be really good too, but I think Lacerate might actually have a place, especially considering it lets you dodge mechanics. So Call of the Wild damage increased from 10 to 12%. I think they did this because of this. Like, so you kind of lose a rank in a way, but then you gain one later on. But it's pretty cool. So 4 times 12. Right, so 12, 24, 36, 48, 60. This is like a 60% damage buff that you can get to your companion skills just on your amulet. So that's pretty cool. And then when you also factor in that, you know, you're getting another like 3 companion skills, I think it goes up towards like an 80 or like 82% increase to your companion skill damage. That's multiplicative, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so this right here is interesting, not for necessarily a companion build, but just for anything that runs a Wrath skill or a core skill. So after casting companion skill, your next core Wrath skill's damage and critical strike chance are increased by 5%, up to 15%. So this one's pretty crazy. Now, I don't know if this was intended, but you can run Clarity. I think it's Clarity. Can you get Clarity here? Yeah, so they have Clarity as Druid Invigoration as a resource thing, which doesn't really make sense because it doesn't give you a resource. So we're kind of thinking, I think like the community is thinking this was a bug, but still. Increase this by 45% damage. That is pretty nuts. It's like if you can get like increased ranks to Clarity, you can just up this to just be nuts. Like it's 45% base because you can put 3 ranks into it, but if you can get more ranks into Clarity, like this is just insane. Insane damage. Okay, so movement speed, whatever. Yeah, so aspect the changeling's debt. This is unfortunately what I was talking about. So you deal 25 for increased damage while hitting a poisoned enemy as a werebear, or a crowd-controlled enemy as a werewolf. However, there is something to think about. Is like again with the whole skill tag thing, and with I don't know if I pointed this out, but if you look at the list for Carnage, it says werewolf damage now. It doesn't, and over here it says werewolf skill damage. Before it said werewolf skill damage, right? So they changed this. It makes me wonder if it will apply to my wolves if I was to have like aspect of the alpha on, which then also leads you to wonder, hey, would this actually apply to your wolves? I don't know. I would assume probably not, but it's just something to be on the lookout for on the off chance that it does. Let's see here. So Night Howler's aspect, so this is what turns it into a shout. It also affects nearby companions and players, so that's pretty cool, especially since they get 100% of our attributes, such as more crit for your wolves. So that's better this season, but I still am not 100% sure. So the next big thing here is Shepherds. So now Wrath skills also gain increased damage from companions. So this is pretty sweet, but it is going to kind of create this is going to be the season of like everyone's going to run companions, but probably just to buff the damage of other things. Like Companion Druid is going to be much stronger this season, but most people it's like, okay, if it's not an S tier build, it doesn't exist, right? That's the way most people look at Diablo 4 from my experience, and really any RPG at all. So, but you're definitely going to be seeing a lot of that. Okay, so Tracker, this is interesting because it increases the effect duration. This is going to technically increase your Poison Creeper damage. This is going to be pretty good because it could potentially make your Poison Creeper deal double damage. Yeah, 5% more of the time or whatever. Then Wild's Glyph. So this is referring to the passive portion. So the passive damage of your wolves is going to go up by another 10%. So that's pretty cool. Let's see here. Decompose. Alright, so yeah, this is all Necro stuff. Yeah, so that's it for all of the changes. So when it comes to my thoughts of like how strong Companion Druid's going to be, well, it's going to depend on a few things, but I think it's going to go up to like at least like a B tier build. It's definitely nowhere, like if people are still calling like Companion Druid like a D tier build, they're just wrong after this season. Like there's no reason to like rate them that low. And personally, I've kind of always thought that they were nowhere near as bad as what people made them out to be, because I've played them literally every season and did just fine. But hey, hey, whatever, I guess. But yeah, so going into the next season, it's going to be pretty fun. Unfortunately, like the season theme there is no real power from the season theme aside from just like that loot has been completely changed. So like you're going to feel way more powerful, but not necessarily from like like a vampiric power or like a malignant heart or anything like that. It's just going to be because they changed stats, so you just have more damage and stats just roll higher now. So yeah, let's see, do I have anything else to say about it? Oh, leveling is going to be pretty fast. Obviously it's going to be pretty good because they did buff like all the damage and companion skills during season 3, so like a month ago. So like it's just like leveling up companions are going to feel amazing. And even then, the cool thing about companions is that you really don't need any uniques. You don't really need any crazy legendaries for them to be good. So I think Companion Druid is eventually just going to become kind of a staple like leveling build that people use to just kind of work their way into other builds if they're really trying to like look for something that's going to be strong with no legendaries, because they've just buffed the base damage super high. But overall, yeah, Companion Druid's going to be a lot stronger next season, especially with these last minute wolves buffs, because that was still the biggest thing people were having an issue with was, oh hey, they get 100% of your attributes, but they remove damage reductions, so those aren't going to apply to your wolves. So your wolves are still dying in super high stuff, but they're increasing the health by 200%, and they nerfed the respawn rate, or I guess buffed the respawn rate by 100%, or reduced it by 50%, however you want to look at it. So that's just going to be absolutely massive. Yeah, when it comes to other builds and theory crafts that I've done, again, I'm going to update them. It's very simple. What you have to do is you just have to replace something with claw, run pack leader, and it's still going to be, it probably wouldn't be as effective as if you had things down to like a 1 second CD, but it's still going to be very, very close, I promise. Alright guys, well I think that's going to do it. I think it's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe if you want to see more. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.